Hi, I'm Kristin Omdahl and welcome to my studio. In this video, I'm going to show you some tips and tricks for making one of my patterns. Let's get started. This is the Amaryllis Easy Crochet Shawl. This is a modular construction shawl with 2 triangles worked in an easy to memorize petal pattern. Then the triangles are joined together with a decorative center gusset panel. You will need 290 yards of number 5 bulky weight yarn. I used Be So Easy yarn, which is my number 5 bulky weight 100% milk cotton yarn. I used 2 balls of color sea green. In the tutorial video today, I'll be using this really pretty light purple called lavender. You'll also need a size L, 11, or 8 millimeter crochet hook. The pattern includes written instructions as well as detailed charts, and you can find a link in the video description for both the pattern and the yarn. First, we're going to tie our yarn to our crochet hook. You can use a slip knot, a square knot, it doesn't matter, whichever you prefer. And we're going to start with the triangles. We're going to make 2 triangles, and then after that, I'll show you how we join them together for this magical finish. Row 1 begins with a chain 10. And we're going to work a 2 double crochet cluster in the 4th chain from our hook, which counts as the first petal. So we're going to count back 4 chains. You don't count the loop on your hook, that's your working loop, so we'll count back 1, 2, 3, and 4. 2 double crochet cluster is yarn over your hook, insert your hook in the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on your hook, then yarn over, insert your hook in the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on your hook. You now have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on your hook. That's 1 petal. Chain 4 and 2 double crochet cluster in the 4th chain from your hook. And again, we're going to count back, not including the working loop, 1, 2, 3, 4. And in that 4th chain, we're going to work another 2 double crochet cluster. Yarn over your hook, insert your hook in the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, insert your hook in the same chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on your hook. We now have 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on our hook. That's our 2nd petal made. Now we're going to skip the next 5 chains from our beginning chain and slip stitch into the 1st chain. And this is what your work should look like at the end of row 1. Row 2 begins with a beginning petal pair, and the pattern will show you the specific definition for this stitch, and I'm going to show it to you right now. It's a chain 10. Two double crochet cluster in the 4th chain from your hook. Chain 4, 2 double crochet cluster in the 4th chain from your hook, and then we're going to slip stitch in between the petal pair in the row below. Slip stitches, insert your hook, pull up a loop, and pull through the loop on your hook as well. So that's the beginning petal pair at the beginning of row 2. And then next in row 2 is to work a regular petal pair. So let me show you how to do that now. It's chain 4, 2 double crochet cluster in the 4th chain from your hook, chain 4, 2 double crochet cluster in the 4th chain from your hook, and there's a regular petal pair. Then the end of row 2 finishes up with a double treble crochet in the base of the last petal of the last row, which would be right here. So we're going to yarn over 3 times for a double treble crochet, insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on your hook, and yarn over, pull through 2 loops on your hook. I'm going to set this down and then describe again what we did for row 2. We started with a beginning petal pair, then we slip stitched in between the petal pair on the row below, then we did a regular petal pair, and then we did a double treble crochet in the base of the last petal on the previous row. This is what your work should look like at the end of row 2. Row 3 begins with working a beginning petal pair, and that starts with a chain 10, and then 2 double crochet cluster in the 4th chain from your hook, chain 4, 2 double crochet cluster in the 4th chain from your hook, and then we will slip stitch in between the 2 petals on the previous row petal pair, and now we'll work a regular petal pair, chain 4, 2 double crochet cluster in the 4th chain from your hook, and again chain 4, 2 double crochet cluster in the 4th chain from your hook, and slip stitch in the space between the next 2 petal pairs. So this is where you might get a little confused on any given row. Notice how the petals are done in pairs. So you wouldn't want to slip stitch down here. You're going to slip stitch in between the 2. And notice how they kind of go at an angle. The texture to point out here is to don't slip stitch in between the 2 sets of petal pairs. Slip stitch in the middle of the pair. See what I mean? So we're going to slip stitch now here. And then we're going to work another petal pair. Notice how we're increasing by 1 set of petal pairs each row. So that's really what we're going to be doing for the rest of the triangle, is working a beginning petal pair, working petal pairs across the row, and then finishing up the end of the row with the double treble crochet. Each row of the entire pattern is written out in detail, including with stitch count at the end of each row too, which is really helpful if you're a beginner or new to this type of design. Okay, so you can see now at the end of row 3, we have 3 petal pairs. We started with a beginning petal pair, then we did a second set of petal pairs, a third, and then we ended the row with a double treble crochet. And so you're going to repeat this. You want to repeat this stitch pattern until your triangle is the size that you want, and then you're going to want to make 2 of them. And just keep in mind that if you're going to make it the exact same size that I made, you'll follow along in the written instructions. And if you want to make your triangles bigger or smaller, you would add more or less rows. Once you have 2 triangles made, make sure that they are the exact same size, and then I'll show you how we're going to join them together. Once you get the hang of this pattern, it can be really relaxing because it's very repetitive. But in the beginning, if you're having trouble remembering where those petal pairs are so that you know where to work your slip stitch, it might be helpful to pull out some stitch markers. And on the row previously, it's pretty easy to see when you're not crocheting. It's pretty easy to see where the pairs are. The pair goes up and down like an upside down V. Here's where we slip stitched between petal pairs on the row previously. So if you're having trouble remembering, it might be a good idea to mark the center of the pairs with a stitch. Well, maybe not right in it because that's where you need to slip stitch, but maybe put your stitch markers across the row to help you remember. Once you do this several rows, you're totally going to get it, and it's going to be very repetitive and relaxing. But in the beginning, if you need to mark them, that might be a good helpful tip. Okay, so I've got both of my triangles made, and if you're modifying this pattern, making it larger or smaller, you just want to make sure that both of your triangles are exactly the same size. You need the same amount of rows so that they're the same size and your shawl can be symmetrical. Also, if you're going to add more rows or take away, the original pattern calls for 13 rows of this pattern for each triangle. I did 7 rows, and if you're modifying, make sure that you do an odd number of rows. It doesn't matter if you're just making one, obviously, but if you're joining them together with the specific stitch pattern we're going to use for the gusset, you need a multiple of, it needs to be a multiple of 2 plus 1 or an odd number. Okay, so we made our triangle starting at the bottom and increasing our way up. And as I was making it, I realized that this top row was going to be absolutely gorgeous for an edging. So that's why I made 2 triangles so that I could turn them upside down like this to create a triangle out of 2 triangles. So we have this beautiful edge of that last row for the edging of the lower V of the shawl. And so what we'll be doing is adding a row of crochet along one of these triangles and fastening off. Then when we add that same row of crochet to the second triangle, we'll be joining it to the other triangle as we go. So let's start by doing one of them. Grab yarn and crochet hook. So the center gusset is done in 2 rows, 1A along the first triangle and then 1B along the second triangle, and it is during that 1B that we are joining with a slip stitch to the other side. So let's start with 1. So we're working along the end of rows of the first triangle, and we're going to slip stitch to join in the first row, which would be part of that beginning chain 10. I'm going to tie my yarn to my crochet hook. If you like a square knot, slip knot, whichever way is fine. Just make sure your tail's long enough so that you can weave it in at the end. Okay, so row 1A starts with a slip stitch into the first end of row and chain 5, which counts as a double crochet, chain 2. And then we're going to work double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet in that same space. So double crochet is yarn over your hook, insert your hook in the space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 1, double crochet again in that same space, chain 1, and double crochet in that same space. Chain 1 in the next end of row, single crochet. Single crochet is insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops on your hook, chain 1. In the next end of row, we're going to work double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 5, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. So all in that same space we did double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 5, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and single crochet in the next end of row, chain 1, and then we'll repeat this till the end. We'll do chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, and then double crochet in, we'll do chain 1, single crochet in the next end of row, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 5, double, chain 1, double, chain 1, double in the next end of row. And you want to repeat this across. This is what your work should look like at the end of row 1A of the center gusset. We're going to fasten off, and then we're going to get started on the same gusset for the second triangle. Okay, here's our first triangle with the gusset row completed. Notice how I have it placed here. I have the beginning of the row here and the end of the row here. I'm now getting ready to start the center gusset row, or row 1B, for the second triangle. And in this one, it says to start in the end of the last row of this triangle, whereas we started in the first row of the first triangle. So just wanted to point that out, and we'll now tie our yarn back to our crochet hook again. And as instructed, slip stitch into the last end of row now. And we start with a chain 4, which counts as a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Now instead of the chain 5 that we did in the shells on the first triangle, we're now going to do a chain 2, slip stitch into the adjacent chain 5 space on the other side of the gusset, chain 2. And it's that chain 2, slip stitch, chain 2 that is the equivalent of the chain 5 space we worked in the other shells. And then we'll finish our shell with the double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. All right, so other than changing the chain 5 to a chain 2, slip 1, chain 2, otherwise this shell is exactly identical. And the rest of the row is identical as well. So it's chain 1, single crochet in the next end of row, chain 1, and then we'll work that shell again, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 2, slip stitch into the next chain 5 space, chain 2, and then finish our shell in the same end of row. Chain 1, single crochet in the next end of row, chain 1. And you want to repeat this all the way across, and the only thing that's going to be slightly different is how we finish the last shell. Okay, we're ready to work our last shell, and it starts with double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet, which is the same as the first half of all the other shells. Then it's chain 2, slip stitch into the chain space at the beginning of the other side, chain 2, and finish with 1 double crochet. And there we have it. We have our shawl completely joined together with this decorative center gusset and these 2 gorgeous triangles with beautiful petal stitches and that gorgeous petal edging that just worked out to be a natural edging with that stitch pattern. You can find links in the video description to download the Amaryllis Crochet Shawl and to find information on shopping for Be So Easy Yarn, my number 5 bulky weight yarn that comes in 20 gorgeous colors. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions at all, please feel welcome to leave them for me in the comments. Everything we talked about in this video is also linked in the video description. Let us make time to create, share, and inspire today and every day. I'll see you in the next video.